Hare Swami ki
Jai.
I'm gonna sit up for two reasons. Because it hurts me to sit down and it's easier to see me. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare.
You want to eat it?
No, you just have to raise that up. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvise Sasunyavadi Paschatya Vasatani Vanchakapataruvyascha Kripasamruvevacha Patitam Pavanyo Vaishnaveyo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauravantavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Do you have a topic or you want to ask questions or you want me to? What was your idea?
Whatever you want to talk about.
I'd like if you have questions about anything. Otherwise I can ask you questions that you can't answer. I have good ones. I've been thinking about them all weekend. On the last few days, unanswerable questions. Like, what's better? You get initiated, you vow to chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regular principles, and you end up chanting 4 rounds and following 3 principles, or like 3.5. If you know what I mean. Or you get initiated and you take a vow to follow 4 principles. Take a vow to follow 3 principles and chant 4 rounds, but try to chant 16 rounds and follow 4 principles. Which is better? Questions like that, which you can't answer. So. If you don't ask questions, I'll be asking you questions like that all night. Now, what's better? Your guru tells you to do something, and if you do it, you'll end up committing suicide, because you'll be in so much anxiety. If you do something he doesn't want you to do, you'll be very happy and you'll chant all your rounds. Like, which is better? Follow him and kill yourself, or? You know, these are things I've been thinking about lately. You might think I'm crazy. I probably am, but this is like real life for me, you know, these dilemmas. Yes?
Can you maybe share the first time you met Srila Prabhupada? And some here may not also know so much about your background. Maybe
Yes.
you...
My background.
Who you are.
Who am I? Well, you know, they have this program called 12-step. You heard of the 12-step program? You know, my name is so-and-so. And my name is Mahatma Das, and I'm addicted to Krishna. I'm so-and-so, and I've been an addict for so many years. 50 years I've been a Krishna addict. I can't give it up. I can't live without it. I am from Los Angeles, California, the place where all the movies are made, and half the rock bands started there, or San Francisco. And I had the great fortune of living 6 blocks from the first Hare Krishna temple in Los Angeles. And that was like when I was in high school. Maybe it was 1967 or 68, so I would see devotees. And there was a play which was very popular at that time called Hair. I don't know if you ever had it here.
Yes.
But you had it? Yes. So this was like 67, I think. 66, 67. And in the play they had the Hare Krishna mantra, and that was actually the first time I heard it. And then because the devotees were there, sometimes I would go out and see them doing kirtan, and then I went to college near San Francisco, and the devotees had a temple there in a place called Berkeley, and they would do kirtan every day on campus, and I would see them every day on campus. So I will tell you a story, and there's some philosophy behind the story, about how I learned about Krishna consciousness. Well, let me just tell you a little more about myself. And then I became a devotee when I was 19. I moved in the ashram. And since then, I've lived in many places. First maybe 10, 15 years in California, and then in Canada, South Africa, London for a while, Mauritius, a little island, Paradise Island. And maybe for the last 15 years I've focused on doing workshops where we spend a lot of time together, so we go more deeper. And about 6 years ago I started accepting disciples. And somehow or other I've written 3 books. I've published 3 books in the last 3 years. I never wrote any books. I was never a writer, and I started writing. So you're so lucky I brought them. You can buy them all, and they're not that many. So, interesting story for me was about the concept, when the disciple is ready, the guru will appear. You've heard that, right? Like, when you're ready for spiritual life, you'll find it. If you're not ready, then you might find it, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't make sense. Like if you're not hungry, you eat, but it's not enjoyable, or maybe you get a stomachache. So you have to be ready for something, right? Otherwise, it doesn't do anything. So, when I was about 18, I was ready. I felt like, when I was 18, I felt like I was like 70. I think, I'm writing a new book. This is for people who are new to Krishna consciousness. And I think I said in the book, I retired when I was 17. It's like when I was 17, I was like, what's there to do? I've done everything and I just can't think of doing anything else. Like, why do anything? It's like, it doesn't, it's not, I wanted to know why, so I was asking those questions. And specifically when I was 18, I was feeling very strongly that the answers lie within us and then happiness lies within us. But I didn't know anything. I hadn't read any philosophy about this. It was just all intuitive. And there was a certain point, I was raised in the generation in the late 60s, so, now more people are into yoga and kirtan and like that, but in those days it was more like you were finding the truth through drugs, faster and easier. Right? You don't have to meditate for a long time, just take some drugs, get your realization. So at least that's what we thought. So I had an experience with drugs, and after I had that experience, I thought, I don't need drugs. That it must be, spiritual life must be available inside. You don't need anything. So I was really inquisitive, like looking, where is it? How is it? There's got to be some process, some answer. At the same time, I was always asking questions like how kids will always ask why. We're going to the store. Why? Because we have to buy food. Why? Because we don't eat food, we won't live. Why? So I was like, we're going to do this. Why do it if you don't even know what happens when you die, after you die? That's what I was like. If you don't even know what happens when you die, why do anything until you figure that out? If you don't even know why you're here, how you got here, how can you do anything? What doesn't it make sense? You got to figure that out first. That's how I was like. So I'd be in college and the professors would say all kinds of things which I thought were like, okay, but what does this have to do with anything? I'm still gonna die, so So Shakespeare said this. Okay, that's fine, but and this, this is the table of elements, and these are the atoms. And, okay, great, but what am I supposed to do with my life? And that didn't help me. So I was always asking why. So I had these 2 things going on. Like, why am I here? Why do I suffer? Why do I die? And happiness, it's not working. It just doesn't work. I had by the time I'm 17, I felt like I had everything I wanted at 17 or 18. I did, I felt like I did everything. That's kind of strange, isn't it? But later, when I reflected on it, I realized because I'd done all these things in past lives, that in this life, I was, I probably started my spiritual life in past life, and I was just searching. So in this life, I felt like I need to keep searching. This was very young. So one day, I was near the university, doing what I normally do, aimlessly wandering up and down the street, not knowing what to do, just hanging out, looking at people. And that's basically what I did. Free time. Well, it was a very colorful city. It was, Berkeley was considered one of the craziest cities in America. So just hanging out on the street was quite entertaining. As you'd see all kinds of strange people doing all kinds of strange things. So you could kind of hang out and talk to people. And it was still the hippie days. And Berkeley was probably the most liberal place. I was hanging on the street, and then I walked into a bookstore. And I don't know why I walked into the bookstore. And this is a very interesting story. And the reason it's so interesting is that at that age, at this point I was 19, I had no interest in reading. I don't know why. I can't explain why. I just didn't read. Well, I used to surf. I read surfing magazines. That's all I read were surfing magazines. I'd just go surfing and ride skateboard and come home and play guitar. And then when I get tired of play guitar, go ride a skateboard, and then wake up early next morning and go surfing. It was all physical. So I somehow I didn't just like to sit and read unless it was about something I was going to go do, like surfing or playing guitar or something. And so it was, the reason it was so strange is that I was in a bookstore. Why would you be in a bookstore if you don't read? Doesn't make sense, right? And I was in a bookstore and I didn't even know why. It's like, let's say, do they surf in this country? Are there waves here?
Yeah, West Coast.
West Coast. Yeah. It's gotta be crazy to surf here, right? So cool. Yeah. But okay, let's say you're on the West Coast, right? And you never surf. And
It's just like California.
except a little cold. Northern California. So let's say you take a trip out to the West Coast and you're walking down the street and you walk in a surf shop and you're looking at all these surfboards and you're thinking, well, I'm in a surf shop, I don't surf, I never do. So it was like that. I'm in a bookstore, I'm thinking, why am I in a bookstore? I don't read books. But somehow I stayed in the bookstore, and guess what happened? You'll never guess. Well, you can try to guess.
Harnam party came.
They probably came later. I used to see them on the street. I was so attracted to them. So I'm walking, through the bookstore, just walking around, really walking around aimlessly, because that's kind of what I did on the weekends. I had fun just being aimless. If you have no plan, you can't get disappointed. So I would just go out and see what's going to happen. I'm still like that kind of I don't like to plan too much because then you know what's going to happen and it's not exciting. Sometimes you're like, okay, let's just go. We'll see what happens. So I was a little bit like that. I'm just on the street. So now I'm in the bookstore. Well, okay, I'm in the bookstore. Let's see what happens. Just walk around. And there's this book, and I pull it off the shelf. It's just caught my eye. When the disciple is ready, the guru will appear. What book do you think it was? 3 guesses. It starts with a B. Bhagavad Gita. And I'm looking at this book, Bhagavad Gita. I have no idea. I never heard of it. And I'm looking at the book, Bhagavad Gita, and I'm thinking, it must be Indian. I mean, with a name like that, it's probably Indian. And it probably had an Indian picture on it. Obviously it was Indian. And I thought Indian things were cool, interesting. I was attracted. Not that I knew anything Indian, I just thought if it's Indian, it's kind of cool. And that generation, our generation, we thought Indian things were cool. Madrasas, those cloths and incense, little trinkets from India. And I'm looking at this book, and this voice inside of me, which we know, I know now, was the Super Soul, Krishna within me, said, you should read this book. And I'm telling you this story, this is over 50 years ago. okay, how do I remember this? It was such a significant thing. 50 years later, I could go back there and tell you where the store was. It's on this point. I don't know if it's still there, but I could tell you where it was. I could tell you where I was standing in the store. And we can do a Hollywood movie. Standing right here. The book is on, I tell you the shelf. It's like it was on a shelf about this high. I remember it all. Isn't that interesting? And I take it down, I have no idea what it is. And the voice says, you should read this book. Well, that was, and it was loud and it was clear, and but one of those voices you just can't ignore it. And I didn't have any money, which was good, because it wasn't Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. But thank you. So guess what happened after? This is amazing.
You found $20 or something.
It was time to register for classes. So there's this person with a shaved head and saffron cloth behind a table. And it's got Bhagavad Gita's on it, and it says Bhagavad Gita class, accredited Bhagavad Gita class, 4 units. You have units here in university? Each class is given a certain number of units. You have to take a certain number of units. The Bhagavad Gita, 4 units. I'm like, what's this? So I go over there. And so I found out that this person, later who became known as Ridananda Maharaj, at that time he was Howard, he had a professor who he convinced to allow him to teach Bhagavad Gita, and any student who takes it would be registered with that professor as doing outside study on philosophy. So like when you do a PhD or a master's, you do outside study. So they had this going on, and you could pick a topic and study it and write a paper or something, and then you get a grade. So he's teaching Bhagavad Gita, and it's an accredited university class. As we say in America, how cool is that? You say that here? How cool is that? Well, you can say it now. Imported from America. And so I studied Bhagavad Gita, and then all the why questions were answered. And then, of course, with Kirtan. So what this tells me, and it tells all of us, that according to our desire to advance spiritually, Krishna will reciprocate. He'll provide what you need. Intelligence, guidance. In other words, what's the chance of ending up, what's the chance of the Hare Krishna temple being 6 blocks from where you grew up? Then you go away to university, and it's still 6 blocks from you. And you go into a bookstore, it says Bhagavad Gita, so that when you're on, and you get the voice, read this book, so when you're on the campus, because if I didn't get the voice, and maybe on the campus, maybe I would have missed it. And then you get accredited. And then every day, the devotees were chanting, doing kirtan on campus. And if they ever saw me, they would run after me, and they would pull me and say, come to the kirtan. Seriously, they wouldn't let, like walk by at home or no. Come, you have to chant. So, when you're ready, when you desire, then Krishna starts making arrangements, giving guidance, the right books, the right people, the right teachers, the right facility. And if you don't want it, or if you think you want it, but you want to fake it, then Krishna will send you someone who won't give you the real thing, he'll give you what you want. That'll make you feel good, but it's not really true. It's like kind of like the philosophy. You can become enlightened and you don't have to do anything. Just here's a mantra, something like that. Something cheap, not real. It won't really help you. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe you don't really want to be helped, but you want to feel like you're spiritual. Yeah, I'm writing a new book. In the beginning it says, if I wear a purple Om shirt, does that mean I'm spiritual? Like some people would do. The purple Om, that makes me spiritual. And I said, I don't know. You could be spiritual, but it's not because of the t-shirt. And if you wear that t-shirt, it might just inflate your ego, going around thinking, hey everybody, look at me, I'm spiritual. You know what I'm saying? So like that's what some people want. They just want to look at. And so they might meet some teachers who will make them feel that they're spiritual when they're actually not. So that's my story. And I'm still here. So let me tell you another thing. It was so interesting. So when I was a student, I was going to bed around 3 a.m. every day. And I remember this, waking up at 11. And my first class was noon. So that was my normal schedule. But when I moved into the temple, we got up at 4 a.m. So when I got up, I was like, oh my God, this is the middle of the night. And we slept on the floor. We didn't have cushions or anything, just sleeping bags. And it was, it was probably like 6 or 7 degrees at night. There's no heat in the building. And, it was austere. And then we go out on the street and chant all day. And later on, I went to Canada, and it was, weather like this, and we would travel and live in vans and do so many austerities. But I was so happy. I've never been so happy. And I'm doing all these austerities, but I'm happy. And, from the materialistic point of view, you're not supposed to be happy doing austerities. You're not supposed to be happy sleeping on a floor, waking up at 4 and taking a cold shower. And not talking to girls, because you're a brahmachari. You're a monk. You're not supposed to be happy, right? That's supposed to be like torture, misery. It was like the happiest time of my life. So, because there was so much Krishna in my life. So, now, let me tell you something also, which I've been dealing a lot with in the last 10, 15 years. I've learned so much over the years. But one thing I learned is that it doesn't matter what you know. It matters what you do. And we can know a lot and not do a lot about what we know. And even worse, we may not even know that we're not doing. We may not even know that we're not living what we know. Does that make sense? Like, I may think I'm doing it, but I'm not, and I don't realize I'm not. So the big challenge, my experience is the big challenge is to become what you know, to live what you know. So it starts in your head, but the real challenge is to be that. Does that make sense? So that's what I've been contemplating, meditating on, and teaching, helping devotees do, and trying to do that in my life. And what's interesting about this, I find interesting, is that a lot of times we don't see all the opportunities to practice our spiritual life. Like, let's say in your work or school or in your life at home. There's a person in your life that you don't get along well with, or bothers you, or pushes your buttons. And then often we think, well, this person is impossible to deal with. I can't deal with this person. Or this person always disturbs me, and I can't control myself, and I become critical, or I become angry. But actually, what we're supposed to, or what we should see, is that, well, here is an opportunity to be more tolerant, or to be more humble, or to be more patient, or to be more something, right? But often we just say, no, this is how it is, and I can't. So that's the idea of practicing your spiritual life. And when you think that way, you start to see that there are so many opportunities for us to do that, because so many things upset us. And it's so easy to get upset, isn't it? Anyone have any trouble getting upset when things don't go right? You're late when you go to a store, and somebody's like taking their time in the cashier, making mistakes, and you've got to get a key, redo the transaction, or call the manager. Life is like that. And when you start when you start seeing all these situations that are affecting you, you realize in every one of these situations, I'm failing. Right now I'm getting upset. And I'm thinking all these nasty things about the cashier or the person who's taking too much time to check out and can't find her credit card. That credit card doesn't work. Let's try this. Write a check. That check didn't work. Maybe I'll pay. I don't have enough money. And you're like, I got an appointment. I have to get. So these are the kinds of things that I think are really important for us to understand. Like everything we're learning, it doesn't just it's not just applied in a few situations. It's applied every day, all the time. And once you see that, understand that, then you can start taking what you're learning and put it into practice. Okay. And ask yourself, how am I doing? Right now, this cashier, this person buying is going slow. How am I doing in my Krishna consciousness? Now normally we think, I'm doing good, because I chant so many rounds, or today I read so much, or I made a garland, and then we calculate, I'm doing good, right? While we're getting upset, losing our patience, or whatever, becoming proud or becoming angry, we think, no, I'm doing good because I chanted so much, right? And we often will fail to realize, yeah, that was good that I did that, but I'm not doing good right now because I'm not following what I know. And if we don't realize that, then we fall into that problem of not knowing that I'm not following what I know, not being aware. Does that make sense? Yes? What else? Have you ever gotten angry? Of course. And then how could we get angry if we were more conscious? It's like, I shouldn't do this. Especially when you get angry at somebody you love, that's like worse than worse, isn't it? So I'm not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to be controlled. I'm supposed to be kind, compassionate. Anger and compassion are really different, aren't they? Because anger hurts people and compassion makes people feel good. They're so different. And so I'm supposed to be compassionate, not angry. And sometimes we might get angry and not even think there was anything wrong with it. It doesn't even, we just think, he was such a this or that. Of course I got angry. And we justify it. And we don't think, no, if I'm becoming Krishna conscious, I'm supposed to control my anger. It's right there. There's a book, Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction. You should control your anger. You should control your speech. You should control your eating and so forth. And Krishna says in the Gita, you should strenuously try to control your anger. And then we get angry, and we think, she deserved it. She told me she was going stresses you out. You think, I can't do it in 5 minutes, and this person is going to be upset if I don't get it done in 5 minutes. Something like that, right? Otherwise, why would you get upset?
Okay, I guess I didn't formulate the question the way I wanted. Let's just forget it.
Think about it, yeah, because I'm not clear what you're.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more of a. Sounds more like of a psychological situation.
No, but there are some tendencies, tendencies, whatever. But just forget it.
Okay.
I just didn't get it.
Okay, yes.
So I have a question. How to regarding japa?
Mm-hmm.
How to get from the sense of duty to the sense of taste?
By being dutiful. You know, sometimes you can't control the taste. I mean, I can tell you how to get taste, but I don't want to tell you right now. I want to give another answer first. Because spiritual taste is a gift. And you don't necessarily have control of that. And sometimes when you're doing something, Krishna may not give you a taste. Because he wants to see, what are you going to do if I don't give you a taste? Like in a marriage, sometimes it's nice and sometimes it's hard. And when it's hard, sometimes the couple thinks, well, maybe we should just divorce. That's not a good strategy. A good couple during hard times will figure out how to make it work. That's what they do, right? They won't give up. So sometimes Krishna may say, or may desire, that you're not going to get a taste because I want to see what you're going to do. You're going to give up. Say, well, Krishna, maybe we should get a divorce. There's no taste. I'm chanting and there's no taste. So maybe we should just get a divorce. Maybe I should give this up. Krishna wants to see that. So there is this idea that I will serve even if there's no taste. That's one kind of consciousness. Right? And what's interesting about that is there's a taste in having that mentality. That's a kind of taste. That even if I don't get a taste, I will continue to do it dutifully, and there's a taste from that. Isn't that interesting? That's the taste of Dharma. I don't like it, but I do it. In the end of the day, I feel really good that I did it, even though I didn't like it. And Krishna is saying, yes, Sanatani, you did it. You are my woman. Now I'm going to give you a taste because you did it even without the taste. And I didn't give you the taste because I wanted to see what you're going to do. And you passed the test. So now I'm going to give you the taste. So sometimes it's like that. And the mentality of a devotee should be that Krishna, if this gives you pleasure, then I'm happy. If I know this gives you pleasure, I'm happy. One person wrote me a letter. He said, I don't understand, why does Krishna like it if we chant his names? Because, in this world, if you chant someone's name, you think, why does he like me chanting his name? He's just arrogant, isn't he? Everybody chant my name. Mahatma, Mahatma, Mahatma. More, Mahatma. And you're all thinking, what's wrong with this? Why did you invite this person? There's something wrong with him. He likes people singing his name. But Krishna likes it when we chant his name. Actually likes it. So, and Prabhupada gave us the Mahamantra, and he's very happy when we chant it. So we can think, this is giving Krishna pleasure, this is giving Prabhupada pleasure when I chant. And by understanding that, even though if we're not experiencing pleasure, there's a kind of pleasure in knowing that this is giving someone else pleasure. Right? It's like you have a dog or a cat and you pet them, and the dog's like, and the cat's like, purr, And you feel good, but you don't feel what the dog's feeling, right? You don't feel it at all. But you're seeing how they're happy, so it makes you feel good. But you're not having the sensual experience. So if I know I'm pleasing Guru and Krishna, that's a happy feeling. So that's there. But one of the things that also can help us immediately is just appreciation for what chanting is. We were just reading a verse this morning in Vilnius, in Lithuania. And Lord Brahma, if you don't, how many of you do not know who Lord Brahma is? Raise your hand. And I'll tell you. Lord Brahma is okay. Lord Brahma is a demigod. He's the creator. He actually created this world. Krishna gave him the power to create. And he lives on a very high planet, and he lives for a long time. And where he lives, the duration of life and enjoyment is thousands of times better than what we have. Like, they have different bodies. They're not made of flesh and bone. They're completely different. So it's hard to explain. If I say they're made of ether, you'll think, how's a body made of ether? It sounds like a ghost or something. But their bodies are different. They're very beautiful. So beautiful we'd probably faint if we saw how beautiful they were. And their standard of enjoyment is tremendous. And Lord Brahma said, I would like to take birth as a human being, because in this body it's easier to become Krishna conscious. This is a better position. So he lives a long time. If I told you how long, you wouldn't believe me, but it's long. So, how long is his day? Who knows? 8,400,000 years is his day. That's 4,300,000, 12 hours, and more 12 hours. 8,600,000, that's his day. That's one day, and he lives 100 years. He lives 311 trillion of our years. For him, that doesn't seem like 311 trillion. So he has an incredibly long life, and he wants to be like us. So this is better. And so I was telling the devotees, here's Lord Brahma, he wants to be like you. And you're thinking, body's getting old, getting a wrinkle here and a gray hair there and a muscle ache here. And he's like, I want this body, I want to come here. And then, what's even more amazing is that, I don't know if you know this, but the Hare Krishna mantra was always existing throughout the history of this planet for hundreds of thousands of millions of years. But today, especially by the grace of Lord Chaitanya, the Hare Krishna mantra has more power. It's different. It's the same mantra, but it has different power. More power. Yeah. It's not the same mantra that has always been chanted throughout history. Today it has more power. And it has the power to give love of Krishna in one life. So actually, that mantra is Krishna's offering to us. It's like his invitation to come back. It's his offering of love. We chant it, we'll get love for him, we can go back to him, and we'll get this very deep, powerful love that we wouldn't get in other ages by chanting the same mantra. So sometimes just by appreciating that, when you're chanting, you get a taste, just feeling how fortunate I am. Now sometimes we chant, we feel we're not fortunate. We feel like, this is hard. I wish I didn't have to do this. Everybody's out, having fun, skiing, climbing mountains, riding their bikes, and I have to chant. That's why that's really bad. And that's why we may not have a taste. So, if we can appreciate, let me tell you a story. This might help. We have just done a japa workshop, so we're doing a lot of chanting, and I was really feeling the power of the holy name. This was in a place called Trinidad. Trinidad is in the Caribbean. If you just, from here, go east and south, you'll end up there. Probably further south than east. And Caribbean is very beautiful, and it's always warm. The pictures, palm trees and coconuts.
West and south.
What?
West and south.
West, that's west. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, western. Well, if you go east far enough also. But yeah, west and south, that's correct. West and south. Aqua color water, and I love the beach. So after the retreat on Monday, I said, can we go to the beach and just rejuvenate? And I was on the beach, and they were playing this music, which sounded like rap and Bollywood all mixed together. It was like Indian beats and Indian and Hindi words and Indian music, but it was rap. And I'd never heard it before. And I was with a devotee, and I said, what is that? I think it might just be made in Trinidad. I said, what is that? They said, they call it chutney. And as the name of the music, they call it chutney. Anybody heard of that before? Chutney? So it's like Indian rap. Really weird. And I had just been doing a lot of chanting and really getting absorbed and really feeling the power of the holy name. And now I'm on the beach and I'm hearing chutney. Completely different vibrations. And at that point it became so clear that this vibration was carrying very strongly sexual energy. By hearing it, it's just that chakra. It's like stimulating the sexual chakra. And I could feel that. And then I was thinking, Haribo. And then I was thinking, at that point, I was thinking the Hare Krishna mantra is personified love of Krishna, and this chutney is personified sex desire. It's like sex in sound. That's just what it felt like to me. And the holy name, it just made me feel so much more that the holy name is the personification of love of God in sound. So if we can appreciate that that's what's being given to us, even if we're not experiencing it, but just appreciating it, it can help us so much. Get a taste for chanting. Because appreciation always increases our taste of an activity, doesn't it? Yes? Yes. Right? So that's one of the problems. We don't appreciate it. And we think, oh, I have to do this, I don't want to do this, I have to do something else, it's so hard. Yeah. Okay. Don't ever say you don't want to do it. Don't ever say it's hard. Because if you say it, that's what happens. It becomes hard and you don't want to do it. Because you magnify energy by letting whatever you're thinking come out of your mouth. And then you're like reinforcing it. This is so hard, I don't like to do it, I don't do it later, wish I didn't have to do it. Yeah, then that's what happens. Then how are you going to chant now? After you've affirmed, like we have a book, Japa Affirmations. Can you hand me that? This is 20 affirmations to help you get in the mood to chant. But sometimes we chant, I don't know, what's the opposite word of affirmations? It's affirmations? Affirmations? De-affirmations? Sometimes, oh, I don't really want to chant now, this is going to be hard. We're saying all these negative things, right? So these are affirmations, positive things. How I will relish chanting, I like to chant. I'll be with Krishna when I chant. It's all affirming. So if you don't affirm, but you only affirm what you don't like, what's going to happen? Right? It's going to manifest. So I think that's important. Appreciation, positive affirmation. Like we have one affirmation here. I want to chant, I get to chant, and I love to chant. And so you hear that and say, but sometimes I don't want to chant. And sometimes I don't love to chant, so it would be artificial to say this. And so many devotees have told me, just by saying this, it completely changed their attitude towards chanting. Because they just saw it, no, I wanted to. Of course you want to chant, otherwise why would you even have beads if you didn't want to chant? Like no one said, chant or I shoot you. You're doing it because you want to. Even though you think you don't want to, but you were the one who decided to at least try it, right? So I want to chant. I get to chant the opportunity, Krishna's love and His holy name. And deep down, the soul loves to chant. So when you say it, you start to feel it. And when you say, I don't really like chanting, I don't really want to do this, it's so hard, you start feeling like that. And then you begin chanting, and it just affirms what you just said. Hare Krishna, yeah, it's hard. Hare Krishna, I don't want to do this. Isn't it? So that's a problem. So you don't want to enter chanting in that mood. Because it just becomes, you know. We have this word in English. I don't know if you have this sourpuss. You understand what sourpuss is? Sourpuss is a person who's whining is always what?
Surpomp.
Yeah. How's it going? Not so good. What are you doing tomorrow? We're supposed to go here, but I think it's not going to be good. Yeah. How was the program? I didn't really like it. That's a sourpuss. Right? So if you do sourpuss japa, what do you expect is going to happen? Okay, Krishna, I'll do it. I don't really want to, but okay, it's not going to be fun. All right, Hare Krishna. I don't want this already. So what do you expect is going to happen? And it's all going to be affirmed because you've already predicted and projected your experience is going to be bad. So this book is to predict and project a good experience. That's going to be good. Yes, it's going to be nice. It'll be with Krishna. It's going to be His holy name. It's His mercy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I have some bad news. There's only 7 of them, and there's more than 7 of you. But you can get it on Amazon if they sell out.
We have a few of them.
Few more, yeah. If you chant, I mean, this sounds weird for me to say this. I'm just being honest. If you chant, you should have that book. It'll help you a lot. This is like years and years my exploration and teaching. It'll really help you.
What if you don't believe it? You know, like once you read it, it's like, it's like you fake it till you make it.
You have to believe it on some level. You can fake it till you make it, yeah. But, okay, I have to say something about beliefs, which is very interesting. Do you know that your mind can't tell the difference between what's true and what's not true? Did you know that? Do you know that athletes can practice without practicing? They can just do it in their mind. And they did. You know, the first time I went surfing, I caught the first wave and started surfing because I grew up by the beach watching surfers. So I had actually done it in my mind. And none of the people at the beach could believe that was my first time. It actually wasn't my first time. I've been doing it for years in my mind. Right? So the mind is really powerful. So you say, what if I don't believe it? But if you do believe it, your mind will believe that you believe it. Isn't that interesting? Because the mind doesn't know what's real and what isn't real. It only knows what you believe. That's why somebody who's really good at something can often believe they're not good at it. And nobody can understand why you wouldn't think you're good at this, because you are. But they can't perform well because they don't think they're good. And that's not the reality. Or vice versa. Somebody thinks they're really good at something and they're really not. You know. But if it's something you want to do, why wouldn't you want to believe in it? Right? Some of these affirmations also, it's not about believing, it's about feeling. It's not a question of believing, it's about feeling. Can I read? Yeah, I'll read a few. That we can explain it. This is not an advertisement for the book. But I meditate on the meaning of the holy names as I chant. So there's not a question of believing. It's what does the holy name mean? Krishna, please let me serve you, let me love you. I don't want to serve Maya, I want to be pure. That's what it means. So when I read this affirmation, then before I chant, I enter into the mood of chanting. What does it mean? I start to feel that meaning and then I chant. So it's not a question of believing. It's just a question of adjusting to the right mood and mentality. But this book is just to put you in the mood, the japa mood. Every activity has a mood, right? Doesn't it? Hey, you want to go out and do this? No, I'm not in the mood. Right? What can I do to get you in the mood? Nothing. Or if you do this, if you promise you buy me ice cream, then I'll get in the mood. You like ice cream? Yeah, she's in the mood. You in the mood for ice cream?
Yes.
Are you always in the mood for ice cream?
Yes.
So she's in the mood. Now, if you're going to chant, you want to get in the mood, right? Because if you're in the mood, it's going to be better, right? So that's what this book is about, getting in the mood. So a lot of us don't realize that bad chanting is because we're not in the proper mood. When you get in the right mood, then chanting is good. If you go in the mood, oh, it's going to be hard, I'll do it later. Yeah, later never comes. Yeah, later comes at 11 o'clock at night. Oh, now I'm too tired to do it, I'll do it tomorrow. So, in Spanish, that's called mañana. They say in Mexico, why do today what you could put off for tomorrow? That's mañana Shakti. The saying is, don't put off for tomorrow what you should do today, but in Mexico it's, why do today what you could do tomorrow? So that's kind of tamagun, mode of ignorance. And so then that becomes the mood we enter japa with, and I don't want to do it, and then I put it off. And so everything is a mood. So that's if you create the right mood, you'll get a better taste. That's the answer. Well, that's another answer. That makes sense? Like there's so many things we don't like doing because we're not in the mood. Hey, you want to do this? No, I'm not in the mood. Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. I'm really in the mood to do this. So we want to get in the mood to chant, and then it's beautiful. Is that okay? Okay. More questions? Yeah.
Does or should the japa also lead to reduction of anarthas and prajalpas?
Does japa, well, can I rephrase your question? Does japa lead to elimination of the obstacles to devotional service? Does it lead to controlling ourselves? It does, but this is an interesting question, because spiritual life is not so automatic. Okay, I'll just chant good japa and everything will come. In one sense that's true, but you have to continually make effort. So japa gives you power. The power to do what? More power to overcome obstacles. More power to control yourself. But ultimately you have to control. At least at this stage of life. So what does chanting do? It gives you spiritual strength. What do you do with that spiritual strength? You use that strength to control yourself. Use that strength to deal with your problems. Now you have energy to deal with your problems. Or you could say chanting gives you the humility to be able to see your problems and deal with it. Sometimes we don't even see our problems. The ego just gets in the way. No, I don't have any problems. What are you talking about? I'm fine. But I do have a problem. And chanting, it makes me more aware of it. But now that I'm aware of it, I still have to do something. So that's the idea. So don't think I just chant 16 rounds and then, okay, Krishna, I did 16. Everything's going to happen. I'm just going to watch it happen. All my problems go away. I'm just going to eat, one chapati today. It's going to be easy. No, it's not entirely like that. It's going to be easier, yes, and some problems will go away, but part of it is that you have the power to deal with them. So we always, when we took initiation, Prabhupada asked us to follow 4 principles. So someone could say, well, why do I have to promise to follow 4 principles? If I just chant Hare Krishna, that should take care of the 4 principles, right? But you actually have to make sure that you do it. Especially on the days when your chanting isn't good, then what happens? So we always have to, do it right. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it will give you the strength, for sure. And some of your problems will go away. And it will, and eventually, you know, when you have bhava and prema, yeah, everything good will happen. But how do you get there? You have to make this effort. Always make this effort. Right? So by the grace of bhakti, the power of the holy name, miracles will happen. But you're a participant in the miracle. And then if you do that, then your chanting will get better. Then you'll get more strength to overcome your anarthas, and your chanting, you know, it'll keep working. I would say, you know, like 24 hours a day, we have to be vigilant and conscious and make the right efforts. And never think, well, I just did this service, so now it's all downhill, I don't have to do anything. But you take the power from that service, or whatever you did, that you're feeling that inspiration, and then apply that further to go further. That's the idea. Is that okay? You have a question?
Come on, look, there's a question.
What, where's the ice cream? You want to hear a funny story? Oh, you're going to love this. So, this is the first or second traveling Sankirtan party in Canada, maybe in the United States, maybe the second. In the whole, actually the whole world. Nobody was, this was 1970, 71. And we lived as brahmacharis, and our diets were very austere. Very austere. We ate very simply. And only on Sunday did we really eat. But during the week it was very austere. So we were kind of deprived. So we went traveling, I think, to Edmonton, which I think Edmonton is on the same longitude level. Longitude this way?
Latitude.
Latitude is this way. That's Moscow. So, and it was very, very windy. And this is in Fahrenheit, so I have to, what would it be? Can you translate Fahrenheit to centigrade?
Yes.
With the wind chill factor is minus 60 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
What would that be?
Minus 60, minus 32, 20.
Well, let me say I'll tell you how cold it was.
It's about minus 50.
Minus
50 something.
minus 50? No.
It's very cold.
It's very
Yeah, like this is the wind chill. You know, it was bad with the wind chill. It was this is how cold it was. It was so cold. I remember this. We came to the hotel. Right in front, I walked out the door, walked into the hotel. It took 4 seconds. My hands were completely frozen. So it was 4 seconds. It was that cold.
It's minus 51 degrees centigrade.
Minus 51 centigrade. That was cold, right? That was with the wind chill, right? So we got in the room, and we told the devotees, go out shopping because we were hungry. Guess what they brought back? Ice cream. You are crazy. Minus 50 and you brought back ice cream. Okay. That's how deprived we were. That's for some. I mean, if I told you stories from like 1970s, you'd be like on the floor laughing and also thinking, you guys were completely insane. How could you do that? We were excited, you know, Prabhupada, it was a new movement, and we were excited. When you're excited, sometimes you do crazy things, right? We did a lot of crazy things. So we were happy, yeah. Any other questions? That was just, I had to tell you the ice cream story.
I could see too many years tendency that, you know, Mahamantra Hare Krishna is cure for everything.
Yes, yes.
So especially, you know, the subtle problems which we have, or problems like with ego, anger, and all this stuff is more subtle. So of course, if you have problem with car, you go to mechanic. If you have problem with tooth, you go to the dentist. But if you have problem with other things, you don't go to professionals because it is Maya. And because we have Mahamantra. But I could see that somebody was
Still has problems.
still
Yeah.
for many years
Yeah.
and thinking that there is no problem, that Mahamantra will
Yeah. Yeah.
cure everything.
Well, it's an interesting question, because if you study our literature about the effects of Mahamantra, like what the Shastra says, it says chanting Hare Krishna will give you love of God. But it doesn't say it will like cure traumas from sexual abuse, rape, being in a war, it doesn't say it that's what it's meant to do. Now, will it do it? And I think you pointed out that the answer is self-evident. If the answer is, if I have these traumas or psychological problems and I'm chanting Hare Krishna, and it cures it, yes. And if it doesn't cure it, no. It's just like, you don't have to guess, because, well, I've been chanting for 50 years. I still have problems that I gathered when I was a little boy that I've never dealt with. So it's not like really the Mahamantra was really made to cure every psychological trauma that you went through, but it might. You can't generalize that it would or wouldn't. It may work for some people. And then also, how good are you chanting? What level are you chanting? And what kind of person are you? Maybe you're not so affected by it. You were in the military and you saw millions of people be killed and you're okay. But he saw millions of people and he's like, he needs to go to a therapist. He can't deal with life. And he's chanting, but this is so deep. He needs some other help. I think the best example is, you get a man and a woman, they chant really good rounds, and they can't get along. And they have to go to a marriage counselor, and they go to the marriage counselor, and now they get along. See, so that you would think of all, the traumas and like that, it makes more sense. But you would think, well, if you're a good devotee, you'll be kind, you'll be empathetic, this and that. But we bring so much garbage and baggage into Krishna consciousness from our past. And a lot of it's, like you said, we don't know, we have it, it's not healed. So if chanting Hare Krishna heals everything, why would any devotee have a bad relationship? Not only in marriage, but we sometimes don't get along with one another. So if I chant, I should be humble. Okay, maybe I'm not chanting at a high level. Maybe that's the reason. You could say that. But even if you say that, that's a reality. I'm not chanting on a high level, and maybe this trauma is preventing me from chanting on a high level, and I need to deal with it. Chanting should cure my anger, but I'm still angry, and because I'm angry, it's affecting my chanting that was supposed to cure my anger. So I may have to do something to deal with my anger. To me, that's just common sense. And what I think Shastra backs that up, because where in Shastra does it say, chant Hare Krishna if you have PTSD, or you can't, what's that other one? You can't focus. Actually, chanting might cure that. Deficit attention, what is it?
Attention.
Yeah, it can cure that. Yeah. But some people are traumatized by past experience. And I know devotees who are traumatized by book distribution. They went through difficulties on Sankirtan, traumatizing. And they've been chanting Hare Krishna for 4 years and they're still traumatized. It's just, human psychology. So, I think we have to be realistic and practical, at the same time philosophical, and then adjust both. And I think it's a mistake to be overly philosophical, or maybe overly practical, because there's a balance there. And it's going to be different for different people. Some people might say, I just chant and all my addictions went away and everything. Yeah. But some people needed help with their addictions. They couldn't break it on their own. They didn't have the strength, even though they were chanting. They needed more. Okay. But the goal is to serve Krishna and overcome it. And I know some devotees will say, well, it seems like a cop-out. I should just surrender to Krishna and overcome it. But in another sense, you could say, well, why don't you overcome it as part of your surrender? Why don't you do what you have to do to overcome it? That would be part of your surrender, rather than to control you in the name of I'll overcome it. And I'm chanting for 30 years and I still haven't overcome it, and it's getting in the way of my bhakti. How is that surrender? Does that make sense?
Yes. I can see that that's quite a big problem as a general in Islam.
Yeah, it is. There are other problems. There are other problems where I was just dealing with this, I brought up that question. What if your guru tells you to do something, but by doing it, you become depressed and you stop chanting? But Shastra says you should do what your guru says. And if I do something else, I will be happier, I won't be depressed, I'll chant my rounds, and I can do service. Now what do I do? So, the answer on the test question is follow your guru. But the answer in real life may be, Guru Maharaj, I can't do this. And if I do, I'll be useless. So these are realities we have to deal with, because sometimes we look at everything through the textbook and say, and then you have that saying in America, I don't know if you have this saying, the operation was a success and the patient died. You have that saying? Yeah. So sometimes you're quoting Shastra, say, but look at the devotee. Okay, this is the instruction you gave, but what's actually happening on the ground? So sometimes you have to look at practical realities, not just throw. I have this joke, and some people take offense with it, but it's like you can't just throw shlokas at every problem. You can't just throw verses at every problem. You have to be able to practically take that verse and put it in a context that's going to make it work, or which verse to apply to which situation, which verse to apply to who, and maybe sometimes it's not a verse. It's just a practical. This is common sense, practical solution. This is what you need to do. And I think that's what you're alluding to, that sometimes we get too philosophical. And then we're totally missing the point. But we're staying true to the philosophy, but the result is bad. You've seen that? Bad. I follow the philosophy, where'd you follow it? I follow it down, 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 down. And what's the point? So this is not, it's not to say that we don't follow, but to say sometimes we need to apply it properly. We had provided, ISKCON I think provided funding for any children that were sexually abused or had any kind of trauma from teachers who abused them verbally or whatever. And you would think, okay, well, maybe we should just take them all to a japa workshop and that will solve it all. But, those professionals knew that these are deep traumas that require years of therapy to overcome the trauma of being sexually abused or verbally abused, right? Even though you're chanting. At least that's my experience. I'm sure some devotees will not agree. But my bottom line point is, okay, I'd like to agree with you, but look at this person. They've chanted for 20 years. They still have this problem. The holy name is not really meant to solve that, or their chanting is not pure enough to solve it. Something like that. But if someone doesn't agree, raise your hand. We can talk more. Yes.
So what does one do if somebody you think has a problem and such?
You want to give an example of a practical problem that somebody has?
Like some psychologically behaving in an extreme manner.
Something in some way dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
but
sometimes it can be a chemical imbalance. Sometimes it can be. They just need some therapy to adjust. And if that helps, then it helps. You can use it. Depends on the individual. Some devotees do not want to do that. But you also have to consider, let's say I have some dysfunction, but my dysfunction affects you, and affects all of you. So I have to consider, and if I think, well, I just keep chanting, it'll solve it, but until it gets solved, I'm disturbing you all the time. So maybe it might be better that I try to solve it more quickly through some kind of therapy or program that could solve it. That way I would not have to put you through the anxiety that I put you through. Let's say you're a mother or father and you have anger issues and you're always slapping and yelling at your kid, and your kid's going to grow up very hurt and traumatized. And so you need to get help so you don't do that. I think that's obvious, right? I don't think at that stage you should say, well, let me chant. Yeah, by the time you're chanting so-called helps you, your kid's 25 and they hate you and they don't want to talk to you. And they don't want to chant Hare Krishna because their Hare Krishna mother was always angry. You know? So these are real things to deal with. So get help. At least if I take birth again and my mother's got issues, I hope she gets help. Wouldn't you? I think that's the best answer. You know? Okay, you have this issue, I'll just chant Hare Krishna. Well, if your mother, father had that issue and that issue lasted their whole life, would that affect you? Yeah, maybe that'll help them understand that they should do something. We affect other people, so have to consider these things. But, you know, of course people say, well, Prabhupada never said that. But he didn't say no. One time, a devotee had a physical problem and asked Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was a chemist, so he used to suggest you could use things. He said, how should I solve this problem? And Prabhupada said, I'm not your doctor, go to a doctor. And so you have some, Prabhupada, I have this trauma, I was, abused as a child, and right now, whenever I get in a relationship, I can't get close because I'm afraid I'll get hurt. What's Prabhupada going to say? He's just going to say chant Hare Krishna. He's not going to be your psychologist. So if chanting Hare Krishna is not going to help it, you may on your own have to go to someone to cure your mind, as you would cure your body, if it's a bad issue. Jagannath ki jai. What do you think? Should we have Kirtan? Or do you want to ask another question?
I have a question. Is anger actually fair? If anger is actually fair?
Is what's fair?
Yeah, fair. If you're angry, it's
Just.
Oh,
fair.
is it okay to be angry?
No, frykt, vad det kallas.
Fear.
Behind anger, maybe there's a fear, anxiousness.
There could be so many causes of anger. But anger is degrading unless it's used for some benevolent purpose. Like, the world is being destroyed right now. And if nothing changes, there may be no, 100, 200 years, there may be no life left. I told you. So that makes us angry. Right? That should make us angry. But other things should not make us angry. And that's our own work we have to do ourselves to understand. Why is this making me angry? What is it about me that this is making me angry and I shouldn't be angry? Right? So maybe it's a fear. Why do I have the fear? What's causing the fear? And then I have to heal that fear. Maybe it's an unreasonable fear because of something that happened in the past and I think it's going to happen again and it's not going to happen, but I get angry because I think it's going to happen. And the person I'm getting angry at is totally innocent. But the person who hurt me last time was very similar to this person, and right? So that's now it's not fair to him, and that anger degrades you. I don't know if I'm allergic to these flowers, but I want to give these away to someone. Who likes flowers?
Everyone.
Should I just throw it? You don't have a match, and maybe raise your hand if you want. She wants it. Oh, now you can all get it. One for everyone. One flower for everybody. I can answer this in another way. This is really helpful. You know how certain things bother you, right? Like we say, somebody's pushing my buttons. Do you have that saying here? So, it's like, you push my buttons. So, think in your life of all those people who push your buttons. What are they doing that's pushing your buttons. And then think, why? Why am I getting upset about that? It's a very interesting exercise because you start to see you have certain needs and desires, and for someone else, that won't bother them, but it bothers you. And like, why? And sometimes you don't even know why it bothers you. No, I just have to have everything organized. And if someone comes, my husband comes home and he puts his shoes in the wrong place, I go totally crazy. I can't stand it. You know, but there's no reason to get upset. It doesn't make sense. And so you analyze this, and you can start to like heal these different areas of your life where you react, where you shouldn't react. You get angry or intolerant, and you shouldn't. And a lot of them are just very stupid reasons. Isn't it? No, everything has to go right in its place. And what if it does? If it doesn't, I get angry. What's the point? And I'm a good devotee. You know, it's like. So these are the, you know, what we call baggage. This is the baggage we bring to Krishna consciousness, and that needs to be healed. And I think it's part of your answer. We bring a lot of things in that never get healed. You know, we just do devotional service, and we keep these things in the baggage, and we put the baggage in the closet, and they're there. 20 years later, they're still there, and they're still affecting us. And we have bad relationships, and maybe we don't get things done because we have this disease of procrastination and we never dealt with it, or whatever it might be. Or we have the fear, you know, of being successful and we can't do a lot, we hit a limit. So these are, you know, realities. Oh, this book. This book deals with that. This is actually a Krishna Conscious Self-Help book. The first ever Krishna Conscious Self-Help book. Delivered here to your door in Oslo, Norway. So this deals with a lot of analyzing, thinking, looking at yourself so that you can do better. But doing it in a Krishna Conscious context. So what I just said for the last 5 or 10 minutes is very much like what this book talks about. And I wrote this book to answer your question, because that question is a big problem. And part of what this book does is just, without answering the question, it answers it just by giving you exercises and ways of seeing things that you, oh, this really helped me. Yeah, and if you ever ask me where I learned that from a psychology book. And you do it and you go, oh, this really helped me, my rounds are better. You know, but if I told somebody I got it from a psychology book, they go, oh, that's not good. But you'll never know that by reading this because I put it in the Krishna conscious context. But psychology is just how the mind works. You have to know how to control your mind and emotions. You have to know how they work to control them. What's the problem with learning how your mind works? That's what yoga is all about. So I try to create a Krishna conscious self-help book so we can put it in a context that is very, very intertwined with our philosophy. So that's what this book is about. If I were you, I would get one. And if we sell out, you can order on Amazon, but I don't know how much it would cost to ship to Norway. But
She wants
you want one? Okay. You have to pay me 3 scoops of ice cream. Okay? Any other questions? The bottom line is what will work, what works to bring you closer to Krishna. That has to be the bottom line. Of course, you don't want to break principles, you don't want to go against the philosophy. But sometimes Prabhupada wanted someone to do something, they just couldn't do it. He said, okay. You can't hit him with a hammer. Yes?
Haven't been into this movement very long, but this concept of Krishna consciousness, is it a higher state of consciousness or just thinking about Krishna? What is it actually?
It is the pure state of consciousness. It's our original consciousness. When you take all the dirt, the lust, anger, greed, and everything, then what's left is Krishna. It's everything. It's both what you said. It's the highest state. It is our natural state. And it is conscious of Krishna. That's what it is. Like, Krishna consciousness means you could see Krishna everywhere, 24 hours a day. Somehow you see everything is owned by God, everything is His energy, everything is meant for Him, He's the enjoyer, He's in the center, I'm the servant. That awareness and that lifestyle, that's Krishna consciousness.
Then they're talking about enlightenment, actually.
Right, the highest level. There are different levels of enlightenment. You can realize you're not the body, that's one level. You can realize God is impersonal, as an energy, that's a level. But Krishna as a person, that's where the love is, because the love is with the person. So God is a spiritual person, you as a person. So you can say Krishna consciousness means love. So it's the culmination. And Krishna says, when you know me, you know everything. So enlightenment. So now, more kirtan?
Yes.
So we can put the harmonium on the table, right? Krishna, Krishna. Krishna loves you. Even if you don't love yourself, Krishna loves you.
We love Krishna.
And even if nobody loves you, Krishna loves you. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charine Yase Sasanyavari Yate Desatariye Krishna Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya One more time together. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Can I sing it to you? Without you, Lord, the moment feels like a million years more, and tears are flowing from my eyes, just like torrents of rain. And I am feeling all vacant in the world without you, Lord. In case you don't know, that's actually a prayer. I didn't make it up. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. What time?
9 o'clock Norwegian time.
9 o'clock
in the morning.
9 o'clock in the morning, Norwegian time.
And then 4 o'clock in the afternoon, PM.
4 o'clock in the afternoon, Norwegian time.
Tomorrow is Gita Jayanti.